I'm going to do you a favor, brother. I'm going to leave it to you. Because if it comes out of my mouth, and I sit up there and I literally articulate things, I'm going to lose my mind. I ain't going to be able to do the rest of the show. I'm telling you right now. If it comes out of my mouth, I'm not going to be able to control myself because I'm barely able to right now. You listen to this. I can't take it.
One-on-one, I'm undefeated, never lost.
It's on crack. I can't take this.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rico Report. Again, I am not Rico. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Mathis. Joined by Greg Vorse this evening. We're going to sit down with Greg, and we are going to talk about everything Buffalo and Buffalo Bills. Before we get started, Joshua Thornton in the building, the newest member of YouTube. I think Josh has been a member before. I think he might have just re-upped. But kudos to you, Josh. Thank you for joining us. We got a bunch of regulars in the house as well. Jason Humbert, Jack Baker, Don Keith, Richard Rush, David Kane, all in the building as people start to pile in. As people are coming in here, we might have a lighter than usual crowd tonight. I forgot the All-Star game was tonight, but as people are piling in here, how you doing tonight, Greg?
I'm well. I actually was watching the All-Star game before I was kicked out of the office down to the basement. So here I am. I'm a big Ohtani guy, so I was enjoying it.
Is this the classic, like the classy portion of your basement? Like on the other side, do we see like the bench press and all that other stuff? What we got in that basement there?
If I turn it right here, this is actually a pec deck for doing check. And if Scotch is classy, then yeah. And who doesn't want a Michael Jordan poster? So
oh yeah. That's the one thing I miss. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's only like 6 o'clock my time here. No basements out here, so I don't have anywhere to go to stash my my beer can collection. They're all sitting in boxes in the garage. My fiance's like, "You're 30." My wife now. We just got married. Thank you. She was like, "Yeah, you're 30 years old. You can't just keep beer cans and liquor bottles everywhere anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, all right."
There's a nice little display with the decanter upstairs that my wife put together. The rest of it is here.
Yeah. Decanters are classy. That was my groomsmen gift. I got everyone a nice decanter for their scotch and stuff. All right. Before we get started today, I know you from because I moved out of Buffalo, really. So I never really saw you in your TV days and stuff on Spectrum News or anything. I've known you mostly from Twitter. And by know you, I mean I followed you. And it's one of those weird things on Twitter. I feel like I know you pretty well, even though this is the first conversation we've ever had. And that's sort of one of the weird, peculiar things about social media. Talk about your Twitter handle and your social media platform and how you utilize it to stay connected with the sports fans in Buffalo.
Well, it's at Greg Vorse. Very hard to remember. It's just at my name. And I just love it because here, I'll give you a perfect example. You don't think you're really connecting with people. John Scott and Heather Prusak got married last weekend. My Uber driver got super pumped when I get in his car with my wife, and he goes, "I'm taking a drunk Greg Vorse back to his hotel." Like, what? And he's like, "I follow everything you do on Twitter." I'm like, "Oh, so it's working." And my wife's just like, "No, his ego is going to get even bigger. Like we don't need this." But I just love it. It's a way to connect. You're in Phoenix, you said. You're in Arizona, you said. I get to talk to you. Fans. They're Swedish fans. They still ask me about Rasmus Dahlin from covering him when we knew the Sabres were taking him from Frölunda. So it's just the world is going like this. My wife and I discuss all the time about what are our daughter and son going to actually live through. But it's an amazing thing how it just brings us all together. And it's a place that most of the time isn't a cesspool, even though it can be a cesspool.
And it's really random too, because like I'll be traveling with my wife from like city to city, we'll be like in Texas, we'll be in Vegas, we'll be here, we'll be there. And people on Twitter will reach out like, "Hey, do you want to meet up? You want to grab a drink?" Sometimes I can, sometimes I don't have time to, but it's just, I literally have like these friends who are people I can meet up with for a beer, literally all over the United States because of, social media, Twitter, this show. So it's pretty crazy. Before we get things kicked off today, I know there was a WGR poll question that had you hot and bothered. You said you wanted to talk about it, and it asked Bills fans who they would want to beat next season or who they want to beat the most next season. And I don't know who the other two choices were, but one of the choices was the Bucks and the other choice was the Chiefs, and the Chiefs won overwhelmingly.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about why that was something that rubbed you the wrong way a little bit. I mean, maybe common sense should apply here.
the question more specifically was, who would you like to beat in the playoffs?
Oh, there we go. Yes.
So the options were Giants, Cowboys, Buccaneers, and Chiefs. 3 of those 4 options means you're automatically in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. You're winning the Super Bowl if you beat them.
Right. Correct. So you're already past Kansas City. I know there is this huge thing for Bills Mafia to see Josh Allen unseat Patrick Mahomes and be that dude. But if you're in the Super Bowl, you're that dude. You already did it. Like, we're already beyond that. And just so many fans couldn't peel that layer of the onion away of like, but I didn't see him beat him. No, I know, but the question is telling you it already happened. Or Lamar Jackson beat him and you beat Lamar. Whatever it was, you were one of the last 2 dancing at the dance party. And by the way, the question was phrased, you're winning the Super Bowl. This isn't a Patriots fan 5 years ago, being all pissed off and, oh, I already have 6 Super Bowls, so I'll try something different. No, we're telling you get the first. And that's what got me so fired up, was like, my goodness, I'm a nerd Michigan sports fan. For me, that's saying, would you rather beat Ohio State for the Big Ten championship or Alabama, Clemson, whomever for the national title? Well, if I'm winning the Natty, we already did Ohio State in. We already did it. We're past them. They're now in our rear view for the first time in a decade.
And it's crazy how fast things change, especially like with fandom, because forever that for us, that team was the Patriots. It was always the Patriots. Now it's the Chiefs in our head. So like with the snap of a finger in one season, it is completely turned on its head. And I think that has a lot to do with Josh Allen and the fact that, the Chiefs are the top dog. Patrick Mahomes is the top dog. So, we want to be the top dog. That seems like the team you want to beat. And it's almost like that, that sort of gets in our head, I think, a little bit as Bills fans. We got Pierre coming in saying Mahomes has become the new Brady for many Bills fans. You want to beat the guy. Who cares who we beat? Just win the chip. So he's on your side there. Yeah. Yeah. We don't want Josh Allen to beat Patrick Mahomes in 4 straight AFC championship games and then lose 4 straight Super Bowls, do we? No, I don't think we as Bills fans want to experience something like that. Before we get into some more Bills talks, I want to throw some, because of the pandemic, I've been away from Western New York for far too long. So I want to go through some Western New York questions with you, a guy who's living in Buffalo. And for the people in the comment section, if you want to throw in your opinions to any of these questions or these rapid fire questions, go for it as well.
Feel free to tell me I'm an idiot. I hear it plenty.
Well, the first one I'm going to tell you're an idiot. It's not exactly a Buffalo question, but you were talking about watching the 3rd season of Cobra Kai, I believe, on Twitter, and you used it as a platform to rip In and Out, which I don't quite understand. And I'm going to preface it by saying, what is your favorite of the fast food joints? Please don't say Whataburger.
No, we're going just burger places.
Just maybe just burger places for now. Because you threw the shade at In and Out. So where are you going if you have the choice, if you're not going to In and Out?
I'm probably going to Five Guys.
All right. See, I've never had Five Guys. So
it's the crazy. You're wearing a UB jersey, so I'm going to tell you a real quick UB story. I like Five Guys so much. I'm covering UB in the MAC championship. Tyree Jackson, Anthony Johnson, that crew's final hurrah. And Wendy's isn't bad.
Underrated.
And I order Five Guys on Grubhub, not paying attention. And I hit extra meat and extra bacon. It doesn't go through. I hit it again. It doesn't go through. Finally, it goes through. I get a quadruple burger with quadruple bacon delivered to my hotel. That is so good. I tried to power through. I'm embarrassed to say I couldn't do it because the burger was like this. They also do Cajun fries, and my number one after cheese, the best thing on a burger is French fries. Oh wow. I want a half pound of burger, like a half pound of cheese, and like a half pound of fries. And make it so you're like Guy Fieri trying to stuff that into your face. And that gets me to why I'm not huge on In and Out, because I was thinking about this since you posed the question. I've been there at least 3 times, maybe 4. I'm trying to think if we went twice once while covering the Bills at the Raiders. And every time my fries are limp. The
fries are terrible. The fries are awful.
There you go. And I'm out.
See, the thing for me is most people transition from like, oh, I hate In-N-Out, I love Whataburger, and there's both these things. And Smash Burgers is great. I love Smash Burger. I live out near Arizona, so there's an In-N-Out and there's Whataburger here, and I've had In-N-Out and I enjoy the burgers. The fries are hot garbage. You got to cover it in that like Thousand Island sauce and cheese for it to be anything remotely good. But I do enjoy the burger. I went to Whataburger in Arizona. I hate it. I didn't understand the appeal. Everyone talks about, oh, the gravy, oh, the chicken fingers. It's like, well, whatever. It's called Whataburger. So I went and ate the burger. And then I was like, all right, I'll give it another chance in Texas, home of the Whataburger, because I've never had California In-N-Out as you've had. And people say, oh, it's better in California than it is in Arizona. So like, all right, so I'm going to go to the heart of Texas and I'm going to get Whataburger in Texas. The thing was just a Whopper. That's all it was. There was nothing special about that burger. So, you know, I don't know. That's why when people bring up, you know, burger joints and they say they trash In-N-Out, I got to make sure they're not trashing In-N-Out for Whataburger, because I don't understand the appeal of Whataburger.
The other pitch everyone gives me, and we can move off this topic in a second, is how fresh the toppings are at In-N-Out. And I always fight back with, I don't want tomato, I don't want pickles, I don't want lettuce on my burger, I don't want a salad, I want a burger. And that's the other. The fries have been terrible, and I don't get all that fresh stuff on my burger. If I want my cholesterol to go up, I want to do it right. Oh yeah. So those are my two stumps against In-N-Out.
This question is courtesy of L Buff on Twitter. She was talking about it, and it really got me thinking, because of people. She said, "What are the best breweries in Western New York?" She was asking people for the best breweries in Western New York. I haven't been back to Buffalo in 2 years, and people were listing off all these breweries that I have never heard of. So my question to you is like, yeah. So my question to you is, what do you think of the best brewery in the Western New York area is?
I get to use all Western New York.
All Western New York. You get all Western New York here.
I'm driving to Lakewood and I'm chilling with my family at Southern Tier, and it's not.
Yes, good. Thank you. And that was my choice as well. I get to
take my dog. I get to take my kids. I get to win trivia night on Thursdays, which my wife and I and another couple we meet up with over there are 3 for 3. So if you want to bring it, let us know. And I'm not a beer guy, as you can see. I'm not, but their 3 citrus peel out I'll cut you for some of that.
Oh yeah.
Their pumpkin, again, if we're walking around on Halloween night, I'll cut you for some of that. And they've started to dabble in the whiskey game. Game over.
They actually, you can actually find Southern Tier and Total Wine out here in Arizona. So I was pumped when I started. So that's my number. The first thing I do when I go back to Buffalo is I get a variety pack of Southern Tier. So here's a hot topic question, because this is, I know Pat Moran started his Finer Wings Club today with Matt Perino and Nate Geary. They were out, testing out some wings. What's the best wings in Western New York?
I know there are some other stands for this for me, but it's Kelly's Corner, in my opinion. They're big. They're flavorful, and while the price has gotten worse everywhere, they haven't fully jumped a shark to where you feel like you're getting, your arm broken off to pay for the wings. And that just, for me, for whatever reason, 20 wings, a couple Jack and Cokes, dinner set. They're fantastic.
My favorite thing about Kelly's Corner is you feel like you're walking into you feel like you're walking into 1985 when you walk into that place. Like, you feel like you just got done at the factory. You're in your overalls or your work boots, and you're walking in to grab. It's got that old school feel to it. But for me, like, I went and got wings there once, and then literally the next day I got the flu. So for 2 straight weeks, I was just throwing up all over the place with like a stomach flu. It's put a bad taste in my mouth for Kelly's Corner. So now I always associate Kelly's Corner with being sick for 2 weeks. I got to go with Gabriel's Gate. I think Gabriel's Gate. But AK Cash is with you. He's got.
When we're talking about this, I'm not putting Gabriel's Gate down.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, to me, that's the one.
I'm willing to put Duff's down. I'm willing to put Duff's down.
Oh yeah, I need one that asks. Anyone that comes from out of town and asks, I'm like, don't go to Duff's, don't go to Anchor Bar, don't do it. Don't go to 716. Don't do any of that. Don't.
Well, 716 is turning into Southern Tier.
Right.
Yeah, which is going to be awesome.
I brought it up. But yeah, go to Gabriel's Gate. Actually, we were going to, when we stayed the night for John and Heather's wedding, we almost were going to go to Gabriel's Gate, but they had this drink there called the Auto, named after their dog, that I might have had a dozen of. So we didn't go and get lunch. We just relaxed.
All right. So the next one is a game of F, Marry, Kill. And I want to throw 3 Western New York staples out. So F, Marry, Kill, Mighty Taco, Ted's Hot Dogs, and Paula's Donuts.
The easiest one is kill Mighty Taco. Just throw it out the window. Never go back. You mentioned you have the bad taste in your mouth about what happened to you once at Kelly's Corner. Yeah. You get 2 tries. If I eat your food once and it's not good, maybe you had a bad day. Everyone has a bad day. Over the last 15 months, I've had plenty. It's been a weird time. I've gone twice. Both times, I had to find somewhere to stop. If you know what I mean. And it wasn't coming out here. So that's all I'll say. And so they're gone. I guess I'm going to F for this one. Ted's. Anything that wants to put nacho cheese and bacon on anything, I'm in. So if you want to throw nacho cheese and bacon on my grilled hot dog, I'm in. Whatever fries, we're good. We're on the same team here. And Paula's, my goodness, give me the cannoli donut. I will go to bed and wake up next to that thing 365 days a year.
Yeah, I'm with you too, because I find the older that I get, I can't do the fast food Mexican, whether it's Mighty Taco, Taco Bell, whatever. Like when I want Mexican, I'm gonna go to like a nice cantina, like for dinner. I can't be doing the drive-through Mexican anymore. The older I get.
It also has something to do with, for like the first time in my life, there's a little bit of extra cash in my wallet. So I don't have to spend $7 for 7 tacos and then be sick. I can spend $7 for 2 tacos and be like, oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and funny story too about Ted's Hot Dogs. When I first moved out to Arizona, I moved to Tempe and I picked my first apartment because it was across the street from Ted's Hot Dogs. There is one random Ted's Hot Dogs in Tempe, Arizona, because I guess when the father died, the brothers got into a fight over the company, and the one brother said to the other brother, you can have all the Western New York Teds if I have franchising rights for the rest of the country. And the one brother said, deal. And he's built 2 Teds, one in Tempe and one in like Indiana. So I literally picked my first apartment based off of Ted's Hot Dogs. But yeah, people are with you. Except AK Cash is killing Paul is here. So I don't know how you can kill Paula. I don't know how you can kill that donut. The red velvet is what does it for me. The red velvet donut.
Yeah, cannoli donut. They're cannoli donuts. Oh my goodness.
All right. So the next question I got for you, you're a big Sabres fan. I see you talking about the Sabres a lot. They're going to be a real hot button issue over the next couple of weeks. They might take more of my attention than the Bills in the next couple of weeks. But a lot of people on Twitter, especially with the Blue Jays playing some games in Buffalo, are like, I would trade the Sabres for an NBA team, or I would trade the Sabres for an MLB team. What would you rather have? The Buffalo Sabres, an MLB expansion team, or an NBA team? You can only have one of those 3. What are you taking in Buffalo?
First, I'm a huge Penguins fan. I'm from Erie.
Ooh.
I just happen to cover the Sabres.
Yeah.
So that's,
all right.
I protect myself. Honestly, I would have an NBA team. I love hoops. 5'10", can't jump, but love basketball. I think it was my passion as a kid. If you could tell me the Buffalo Bandits were coming back and they could wear those nasty orange and black jerseys, and by nasty I mean good jerseys that they had, I would take basketball. Now, having covered the Sabres actually when I worked in Erie, when Briere and Drury were doing their thing, man, the Sabres fans, they deserve so much better than the Pagolas are giving them. This Buffalo, I am so happy for Buffalo fans that the Bills are good. If the Sabres could do it, whatever they got to do. If they got to trade Eichel for a 3-piece and a biscuit to get back to being a good team, whatever they have to do, I'm all in. I'm all in on the Sabres being awesome. And baseball, what the cool thing is that it's not Coca-Cola Field anymore, so my bad. But Salem Field was actually originally designed to be able to put more seats out there to possibly foster an MLB team. It obviously never happened. So yeah, I know a lot of people are mad that I'm saying I wouldn't want the Sabres. I'm just such a basketball junk. You're wearing the UB jersey. I can't tell you how many. No, I'm lucky with my career that, Coach Jack and Coach Weitzel and Coach Oates and the St. Bonaventure, coaches and ADs and SIDs have given me some pretty good seats to take my daughter who's 6 to games. So we're loving basketball together. So there's just her and I have that. Now we've also been, here's what you do, Sabres fans, buy my daughter season tickets. She's been to, I don't know, 8, 9 games. She's never been to a loss.
Yeah. Hey, every time I pay money to watch the Sabres play, they lose. So I'm the opposite.
I don't know what, every time I take her, they win. And I have to tell her, you know, we get lucky with people that I know or people that know me and get some pretty good tickets. I have to be like, sweetheart, first off, you usually don't sit this close. And second, they usually don't win. So you're very lucky. You're very blessed right now with how it's going.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think a lot of people just like how bad the Sabres have been recently factors into it. Like when the Sabres are good, not a single person I think is gonna pick Emma, except for you, obviously, is gonna pick.
Question at the peak of that 10-game winning streak.
Yeah,
you're gonna get smacked for even bringing it up.
Oh yeah, if it was 2004, you're getting smacked.
Right, but I'm saying at the peak of the streak, I might have changed my answer.
Yeah,
but it was so much fun. So, you know, it's easy to be down on them right now when they're picking first overall again. And, you know, we're wondering, are they going to protect Risto in the expansion draft? And you know?
Yeah, I mean, and what the Sabres are going to look like when they get good again is what you're seeing right now in the NBA with Phoenix and Milwaukee, because like I'm so pumped for, like, obviously I'm in the Valley, so I'm getting to experience these playoffs firsthand. The first time I've ever experienced a good NBA team, because growing up I was a Knicks fan, and they had that one year with Melo and Jason Kidd where they were good, and every other year they were bad. So I made the decision when I moved out to Phoenix. I'm like, all right, gonna go all in the Suns, and they were terrible, and they're finally good. And it's a lot of fun, and you see these people packing the stadium, and they're tomorrow night. 44,000 are going to be in Chase Field watching on the Jumbotron while they're in Milwaukee. So like, and you see Milwaukee with the Deer District and or whatever they call it down there in Milwaukee. That's what it was like in 04 when the Sabres were good with Drury and Briere. Right. And that's what it's going to look like again. Like if the NHL wants a story, because the NHL has been boring as hell for the last couple of years. If the NHL really wants a story, we got to get those Sabres good again. And Y is being awfully generous here by saying the Sabres will be in the playoff hunt next year. Hey, they got a lot of cap space, but I don't trust the guys in charge to do.
They're going to have to do work
that cap space.
Floor.
Yeah, I think they have to sign a goalie right now because they don't even have a goalie to offer up to the Seattle Kraken. So that should be interesting. All right, let's transition now to the Buffalo Bills, and let's talk a little Buffalo Bills here. A big talk the last couple of weeks has been Josh Allen and regression. I think people are getting bored. I think we're now at the time of the offseason where people are like, they've had too much time to think. They've thought all the good thoughts. So now the bad thoughts are creeping in, and people are talking about Josh Allen and regressing. How much are you buying into this Josh Allen regression talk?
I think it depends on what you think the regression is going to look like. We have to remember he finished second in the MVP voting. So if he finishes third, is that regression? Because saying that you're the third most valuable player in all of the NFL is hard to say you regressed. In that matter, Patrick Mahomes has regressed. Lamar Jackson has regressed. So I think it depends on what you're saying. But if you think he's going to step back and only throw for 3,200 yards and 20 touchdowns next year, you're insane, and you're looking for clicks. You're PFF, who, God bless them, they do a fantastic job at it, but you're just begging for people to click on your stuff so you can go to your sponsors and say, no, look, Bills Mafia clicked on my article 10,000 times because they hate me and want to kill me. I mean, I don't think it's not going to happen. I actually was, when you brought the question up to me on Twitter, I started to look at the numbers. If I asked you if he regressed 10%, we'd agree that's massive, right? If he took a 10% regression, that's huge. He still have it right here. He still would have finished with 4,100 passing yards last year. That's ahead of guys like Matthew Stafford. He still would have had 34 passing touchdowns. That's ahead of Deshaun Watson. His QBR would have still been better than dudes like Lamar Jackson. So a 10% regression, which is massive, would have still had him as a top 6, 7, 8 QB. And we're not even talking his rushing stats in this. This is just his arm that, again, guys like PFF will tell you is still somehow terrible. So could he regress a little bit? Sure. I don't think so, because I think they've upgraded around him. They went and said, okay, I steal a line for Brandon Bean. They're going to keep the throttle down. They're going to keep going faster. They've said we went 90 miles an hour. Let's go 100. and that's going to obviously mean more for Josh Allen when it comes to what he's doing. And we see the videos from Jordan Palmer on IG and what other people are posting. The dude hasn't slept on what he did last year. One amazing thing about Josh Allen, and I've said this since I started covering him when he first came, is he's so aware and so willing to go, I'm not good at 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to do nothing but practice 1, 2, 3. It's like a fighter that's really good at wrestling but doesn't do stand-up. Well, go practice stand-up. So Josh Allen's doing as a quarterback. He's working on everything he's needed to work on, and obviously he is such a moldable clay and such a freak that it's working. So I don't know why I would ever think he's just expected to get worse.
Yeah, good point here from Harold Fuller. Hey, if the running game improves, Allen's passing yards will go down, but that's really no fault of Josh Allen's. So even if he statistically goes down, he still might be the same quarterback. And I think you're spot on there, where when you said, like, if he goes from the second best quarterback in the league to the third best quarterback in the league, is that really regression? Most people, this is the time of year where people put out their rankings of quarterbacks 1 through 30, or their top 5 at every position heading into the season. Josh Allen has consensus been in the top 5, 6 of most people's rankings. Some people have him hovering around 5 or 6. Some people have him up there like, 2 or 3. It all depends on whatever pundit you're looking at. But most of them consensus have him in that top 5 range. If he finishes the season, he's still considered by most pundits, even a top 10 quarterback. Like, I still think that it wasn't regression. It was just maybe the team change. We start playing better defense. We start running the ball more. We start finding a little bit more balance. There are a number of things that could happen where the Buffalo Bills could still be just as good or not better, and Josh Allen's numbers go down. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. As long as he keeps putting up those
that's where you can't box score scout. You can't box score scout. And that I can go for a half an hour on how much I can't stand box score scouting.
All right. So let's move on now to free agency. The Buffalo Bills didn't make a ton of like splash moves in free agency. Obviously, Emmanuel Sanders was where most of their money went. There were little moves here and there with guys like Tyrell Adams, Forrest Lamp, etc. What was your favorite move in free agency, and what was your least favorite move in free agency?
I think you nailed the favorite move. That's Emmanuel Sanders. He steps in and honestly, if healthy, is an upgrade from John Brown. If both those guys are 100%, I'm putting Emmanuel Sanders ahead of John Brown in the wide receiver rankings. That also gives Gabe Davis a chance to still learn, still grow. And I think Gabe Davis has a chance to be their number 1 in 3 or 4 years if they groom him properly. I really love Gabe Davis's future. I like Isaiah Hodgins also, but Gabe's already showed us he might be able to be that dude in a few years. So I think that was my favorite move, was, again, keeping that accelerator down. Let's go get Emmanuel Sanders. Let's do this. Let's have him as our wide receiver 2. Beasley's in the slot. Let's keep this going with Josh Allen and run it back almost and see what we can do. Honestly, I didn't really have a problem with any of their free agent signings. Hollister, if you go out and get Zach Ertz, becomes kind of redundant. Having, Knox and Sweeney and Hollister, that, he probably becomes cannon fodder. But knowing that Ertz isn't a guarantee, I don't have a problem right now with Hollister. But honestly, I didn't have a problem with any of their moves. They didn't have a ton of money to go out there and get wild with anyways. And they spent it where I think they should have spent it in replacing John Brown.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I don't even know if we need Zach Ertz, because if you think about it right now, you're going to want Stephon Diggs to get more targets next year. You want Josh Allen to target Stephon Diggs even more. You're going to want to continue to feed Cole Beasley. You're probably going to want to see Gabe Davis, his numbers, his volume go up. And then you have Emmanuel Sanders to throw in there. So that's 4 wide receivers that you got to feed. Guys like Dawson Knox and Jacob Hollister, I'm fine with them just being guys that like limited targets, but maximize the production with those targets. Dawson Knox is a guy who, if he can get his hands, he can fix those hands. He can be a guy where you don't have to target him like you would have to target a Zach Ertz to keep him happy. And at the same time, he can still produce for you. Jacob Hollister is a guy who's never going to complain about how many times he gets the football, but I've watched enough Seattle games to know that when he gets the football, he makes the most of those opportunities. So I'm right there with you. I think the Bills have some really good complementary pieces. Isaiah McKenzie, Isaiah Hodgins. The running backs aren't going to demand too much. So those guys that we talk about, those core 4 wide receivers, Sanders, Diggs, Beasley, and Davis, they're going to get theirs. And Josh Allen's not going to have to worry about, feeding too many more people. We got my partner in crime, my co-host in the Air Raid Hour, Dave Tilton, coming in with a super chat. I always appreciate it, Dave. He says, can't stay long for work, but just want to drop in and give a shout out for the awesome guest, Greg Vorse. So he's in here. He's in here giving you a nice little shout out there.
We'll have a drink of scotch to that.
I will drink my watered down wine. I have all this leftover wedding wine. And I'm not the biggest fan of wine, so I've been making wine slushies and getting nice and drunk every evening. But let's move on now to the draft. What was your favorite and least favorite draft pick in what was a draft that I don't think any Bills fan was expecting?
At the moment, I think my least favorite pick, and I feel bad because I'm wearing the 26 shirts hoodie right now. I didn't understand Gregory Rousseau in the moment. Like right when it happened, I was like, this is a project pick and you have Allen still on his rookie deal. You needed something to go now. And that might not be what Rousseau is. Now, maybe it is. I think, honestly, at their pick, he had the highest ceiling, but he also might have the lowest floor. And we know Brandon Beane has no problem going to that crap table and rolling the dice and seeing what happens. And if he can come in here and learn and learn from soak up from Jerry before he's gone and Star before he's gone, I started to like the pick. And when I started to like the pick even more, oddly, was when they took Boogie Basham. Because a lot of people were like, what are you doing doubling down on DNs? And when I started to think about it, I started to think about what we just witnessed. And this goes back to the obsession with Patrick Mahomes. What we just witnessed in the Super Bowl. Now, I know some of his line was banged up, but what they did to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl is kind of what made me started thinking about was you go back to that undefeated Patriots team and what the Giants did to Tom Brady. And they had what was called their NASCAR package. And they threw out O.C. Umenyiora and Justin Tuck and those boys and Strahan and just said, hunt. Just go hunt Tom Brady. And that's exactly what the Bucs reversed the script with Tom Brady on Mahomes. So if you're Beane and McDermott and you sit back and go, all right, how do we beat this Mahomes cat for the next 10 years? We go hunt. And that's what those first two picks did now is they get to go hunt. If you can line up 3rd and 13 and you're playing Mahomes and you can tell Epinesa, Basham, Jerry Hughes, Ed Oliver, and Gregory Rousseau, whatever rotation you want, I love pit bulls, so I'll use this term. You pin those pit bull ears back and you go hunt. Have fun, Patrick.
Yeah.
and that's when I started to love the pick.
Yeah. After the draft, a couple of the people, a couple of the commenters who are regulars in the comment section, they immediately brought up the Giants and what you mentioned with Strahan and Tuck and UC Umenyiora. And one of the phrases they used was, it's hard to see the forest through the trees. And I think that is exactly what the Buffalo Bills are going to go for. Even if you can't sack the quarterback, get in their face, make their life miserable, because who do you have behind this defensive line? You have Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, who have both shown a knack for intercepting passes at times during their careers and being good sideline to sideline linebackers who can make some plays. And then in the secondary, you have guys like Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Trey White, Teron Johnson, who have shown an affinity for getting turnovers. So even if you're not sacking the quarterback, if you can wreak havoc on them, if you can make them miserable, if you can get them to panic and make mistakes, there are guys behind them who are going to take advantage of those mistakes, and it's going to lead to turnovers, and turnovers is what's going to help you win football games. I mean, what team in the National Football League, it's a rarity. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm sure if you looked it up, the teams that win the turnover battle probably win 80% of the time. So I really do think that's what the Buffalo Bills were going for when they took Basham and when they took Rousseau. They're just like, listen, this is just something we can't pass up on because of the type of players these guys are and the effect that they can have. Brandon Beane even said it, like, we got to beat the Chiefs. He obviously voted for the Chiefs in that WGR Twitter poll. And he said, we got to get to Patrick Mahomes. Like, they made a decision. What did they do in the secondary? They let Dean Marlowe walk. They let Josh Norman walk. They're letting Dane Jackson compete for CB2. And they drafted DeMar Hamlin to replace Dean Marlowe. They've done nothing in the secondary. Nothing. Right. They have shown through their moves the problem, in their opinion, was the defensive line.
And that the only pick that Obi's brother, Melon Fonwu from Syracuse, was on the board in the third, and they took a project tackle. That was if I'm gonna nitpick, that was one where I'm like, okay, I think if Greg Newsome, the corner from Northwestern, actually falls to them at 30, that they might have taken him over Rousseau, and you just pencil him in at your CB2. But Melon Fonwu, you're gonna take a project guy that has all the crazy measurables, long, 6'2", twitchy, that was the one. If I'm gonna nitpick, but hey, I'm sitting in my basement talking to you. Brandon Beans in some penthouse sipping. So God bless him.
I don't think his house is as nice as Cliff Kingsbury's, but I'm sure he's got a nice pad here in Buffalo.
One of those two will be working much longer than the other.
And I think a lot of what played into that too, because I'm not going to lie to you, I liked the Bills draft after I had time to process it, and I liked all the players the Bills drafted, but I found myself like underwhelmed after the draft, and I think a lot of it has to do with like getting involved in the scouting process and all that stuff, and picking your favorites. If we wouldn't have taken 2 defensive ends, 1-2 back to back, I think the Spencer Brown pick might have been a little bit more easier for like Bills fans to swallow. It's like, all right, we took the defensive lineman, then we took the corner. Now we're going for the project tackle. But because it was D-line, and we were sitting there like, where's our corner? Where's this? Where's that? I know a lot of Bills fans were getting attached to running backs. A lot of Bills fans were getting attached to even some wide receivers. They were just like, wow, we took a project tackle after taking a project D lineman and another D lineman. I think that a lot of that had to do with that as well. But all right, let's move on to that running back room, because I said a couple people might have wanted to draft a running back. You got Devin Singletary, you've got Zach Moss, brought in Matt Breida on a minimal deal, and you've also got fan favorite Antonio Williams. I'll throw in Christian Wade and Tywan Jones, even though I don't think they're going to be a part of your answer. I got to make sure I put in Christian Wade into the list, just to make sure no one in the comment section feels the need to bring it up. But who do you think is going to be the lead dog in the Buffalo Bills backfield when all is said and done at the end of 2021 season?
I've been saying it on Twitter for a few months. I think Zach Moss takes over this backfield. We've been talking about all the passing. I think he's the best blocker out of the group. His stats on a per carry basis were basically the same as Singletary's last year. He's not the fast. Breida's the fast dude out of the group. But between Moss and Singletary, neither of them are burners. Neither of them are going to break off an 80-yard run and be, Austin Eckler out of the backfield. But I think those things, catching, blocking, the two biggest things this offense is most likely going to want. I think he does a little better than Singletary. Now, I do want to see this new Singletary we saw those photos of, what that looks like, because he looks like he put on. We talked about beef earlier and eating those cheeseburgers. He wasn't eating cheeseburgers. He was eating something real good.
Well, he might have been eating cheeseburgers, but no bun. No bun.
Right. He put on some mass. So I want to see what the new version of him looks like. But it will be. I think Zach Moss is just a little not far better than he is, but just a little better than he is. And I don't mind throwing a dart at Matt Breida and having a dude who, according to Next Gen Stats, has a couple of the fastest runs ever in the NFL. So 22, 23, we're talking faster than Tyreek Hill as a ball carrier over the last few years. So I don't mind throwing a dart there.
Yeah. And Devin Singletary too, the amazing thing is his trainer mentioned, or Devin Singletary might have even mentioned, I think he might have mentioned it to our guys at the West Her Media Day. He looks like he does now. He didn't add a single pound. He doesn't weigh more. He looks like that, but hasn't put on any weight. So that would help him hopefully, keep his quickness or even improve his quickness, because that was the issue with both Moss and Singletary last year. And you mentioned Breida's speed was getting to the edge on that zone run on the outside. Both of them seemed to struggle getting to the edge last year a little bit with their vision. So hopefully one of the two. I'm with you on the Moss train. My only concern with Moss is he's been milking an injury all off season. So once he gets healthy, I think he's going to be the lead back. I just don't know if we're going to see it right away because he wasn't even participating in OTAs. It'll be really interesting to see how quickly he can get involved once training camp begins. Speaking of running the football, in order to run the football, I think every Bills fan can agree the interior of the offensive line has got to improve. It seems like Deion Dawkins is a lock at left tackle. It doesn't seem. He is a lock at left tackle. Darrell Williams is a lock at right tackle. Mitch Morse is a lock at center. But those two guard positions are up for grabs. John Feliciano comes back. on a 3-year deal, but it's easily voided after this year. You got Forrest Lamp, you got Cody Ford, you got Ike Butker. I would even throw Ryan Bates into the mix. You got some guys there to compete for those 2 guard spots. How do you think it shakes out week 1 of the regular season?
All things being fair and they're all healthy, I think it's easily Feliciano and Ford. Again, they have to be healthy. That was kind of the problem last year, was you go back 2 years and the Bills were like oddly healthy. Like no one was hurt. Like minus Harrison Phillips, nobody was hurt. And we were all praising that new weight room and all the cryogenic whatever mumbo jumbo that they had put into one Bills drive, and nobody was ever hurt. You flip to last year, Feliciano only played 9 games. Ford only played 7 games. Mitch Morse missed a couple with the concussion. And you were kind of like, all right, what are we going to get out of this line this year? But I think, as you mentioned, if you can put Dawkins and Williams on the outside, Morse in the center, and then those two, and there's something about being in the locker room with John Feliciano where you're just like, I want that dude on my team. It's like the not crazy version of Richie Incognito. Like, you want those dudes on your team, but Feliciano, there's a presence about him. Even the other guys around him, there's a presence where they're like, I'm going into battle with this dude. And I like having that at your left guard spot and him doing his thing. And I just think Ford, I liked him at Oklahoma. I liked him coming out. I really think that he can be a pillar at the right guard spot if he can stay healthy. And again, you put all 5 of those guys, you tell me all 5 of those guys are healthy together for 16 in front of Josh Allen, we're not talking about a regression.
Yeah. We got Don coming in with a nice little fact here. I didn't see this, so he must have mentioned this on Instagram or on Twitter. Feliciano admitted this week that he's eating to gain back some of that weight he lost. He needs to hang out with Harrison Phillips, I think. He needs to go room with Harrison Phillips for a few weeks.
My goodness.
Oh, that boy looks swole. I'm with you with Cody Ford and John Feliciano. I would just flip them. I think Cody Ford's gonna be the left guard and John Feliciano's gonna be the right guard. Cover One did a great couple of mock-ups of Cody Ford. Yeah, I mean they are interchangeable. Eric Turner over at Cover One, he showed some clips of Cody Ford and he broke down why he thought he'd be better at left guard. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they're going to give Cody Ford every chance. I mean, it's not often you see Brandon Beane make excuses for players. And when he talks about Cody Ford, it's like he hasn't been healthy since he's got here. We failed him by moving him around. Like Brandon Beane has made a lot of excuses for Cody Ford, which is not something you see Brandon Beane do often for players. So I think they really want Cody Ford to win that left guard job. But I think we might be sleeping on Ike Butker a little bit. I think Ike Butker's got a better chance of starting than Forrest Lamp, but Forrest Lamp is obviously that wild card there. The defense, transitioning over to the defense, what are your expectations for this defense in 2021? Are they going to rebound and be a top 10 defense in the National Football League? Are they still going to be a middling defense, but maybe start improving with turnovers? Or do you think we're still going to see a bottom of the barrel Buffalo Bills defense that runs very hot and cold in 2021?
I don't know if I need to give Bills pom-poms because all I'm doing is giving positive answers over here. I'm wanting Melon Fondue in the third. But I really like we talked about not box score scouting. And Star Latulele is the number one example of don't box score scout. Because we talked about Twitter. I get in the arguments with fans. Well, he didn't do that. He doesn't have any tackles. That's not what he's here for. He's a one tech. Go clog up the hole and let Edmonds and Milano do their thing. Go clog up the hole and let Ed Oliver do his thing. Moving forward, go clog up that hole and let Boogie Basham or Hughes or Epinesa. Let them do. That's what he does. That's what he does. He stuffs the run up the middle, which happened to the Bills a lot last year. And he allows those other guys not to get double teamed because he is. So I think Star coming back is going to be huge. Matt Milano being healthy, also going to be huge. I don't have all the numbers written down in front of me, but the numbers when he was in versus when he was out are night and day different.
Yeah. Also,
Star back in front. I said clogging holes. Edmonds then gets to roam again and be the freak athlete he is and do the things he's doing. Milano's healthy. Edmonds isn't then also trying to play Matt Milano's position. So those three all get to do their thing that we wanted from them and expect from them if they're all back and healthy. And I think that changes everything. We worry about cornerback 2. You're not worried about CB2 if the quarterback's on his back. Like we don't have to worry about that. They have 2 of the biggest ball hawks at safeties in the league. It's embarrassing when people put out top 5 safety tandems and Hyde and Poyer aren't on the list. And this isn't coming from me I'm a Raiders fan. I'm just telling you the truth. You're fishing for clicks from Bill's Mafia if you don't have Poyer and Hyde in your top 5 safety groups. You let those guys go ball hawk. You let Trey do his thing. However, if CB2 shakes out, Wallace, Dane, whatever it is. But I really think this defense could be back to top 10. It's a lot of ifs, though. I said a lot of ifs. I'm asking Matt Milano to be healthy for 17 games. Got to get used to saying 17 and not 16. We're asking Starr to be that true one tech we were used to 2 years ago with a year off and looking like he also wasn't getting buns put on his cheeseburgers. So we're asking for all these and for no one to step back. We're asking for Trey to still be Trey, Poyer and Hyde to still be Poyer and Hyde. But there's no reason that this group with Sean McDermott as their head coach and Leslie Frazier can't go out and be a top 10 unit again. And unfortunately, maybe a year from now, we're talking about how Leslie Frazier and Brian Dable are both head coaches somewhere because they go and win that Super Bowl over the Buccaneers.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. And again, it all goes up to those big bodies up front. It seems to me like the game plan for the Buffalo Bills this offseason was fix that line. Like, I mean, you saw Quentin Jefferson walking out the door complaining about how he was playing one tech. Ed Oliver was a little bit more cordial about his complaints about having to play the one tech. But you were doing Ed Oliver a disservice last year. You were doing Quentin Jefferson a disservice last year by playing those dudes as the one tech. Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, even Teron Johnson, who came on late last year. You got some dogs in that secondary. You got some players in that back seven. You got to free them up to do what they do best. And I think the Buffalo Bills are trying to do that by beefing up that defensive line. So I think you're spot on there. I think they're going to push top 10. I don't know if they're going to be a top 5 defense. I think they'll push top 10. And I think they're going to get a lot better at turning the ball over, which is another thing that I think is really going to help them because I think our offense is going to be an offense that'll
in the playoffs. That Taron Johnson pick 6 doesn't happen. We might be having a completely different discussion.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of cornerbacks, not Taron Johnson, but the boundary. Levi Wallace, the man who will not die, CB2 for life, is something that he should have probably tattooed somewhere on his body. Are you a Dane Jackson guy or are you a Levi Wallace guy heading into the 2021 season?
I think right now, feet to the fire, that it's still Levi's spot. They like him for whatever reason. They really like him. They like his, I don't know what it is. They like it. So they keep running him back out there. Josh Norman didn't work, clearly. So I think it is, as the roster is currently constructed, there are some big names out there still that could be picked up at CB2. Should the Bills, maybe they're holding on to this little bit of money if Ertz becomes a thing. Who knows? But out of those two, I'm leaning towards Levi Wallace, and it's mainly because they seem to lean towards Levi Wallace. So I'm just, again, being smarter than me, McDermott's smarter than me. They keep, for some reason, saying that this is our dude over across the way from Trey. So I'm gonna go with it.
And this is a question that I like to ask people. It's my favorite question of the offseason. What player needs to take the next step more? Sort of that Josh Allen type of leap. Does it need to be Ed Oliver or does it need to be Tremaine Edmonds for this defense to get back on track?
It needs to be Oliver. You drafted him 9th overall for a reason. You needed a tight, you needed that dude. And Oliver hasn't been it yet. And I'm a recruiting nerd. I was following Ed Oliver when he was a junior in high school outside of Houston, Texas. He was a 5-star, can't miss, #1 recruit.
I think we might have lost Greg for a second there.
You back? You got me?
Yeah, we got you back. Sorry.
My father-in-law was calling me.
Oh, it's all right.
But the answer is Ed Oliver. And if he can be that dude that we saw at Houston, the reason you took him in the top 10, why he was a 5-star recruit, why he was eating up 2 and 3 blockers while he was with the Cougars, he needs to be that guy again. Whatever it is, I don't know. Stop riding horses. I don't know what he needs to do, but he needs to find what it was that made him that special person for the first 20 years of his life. And whatever that is, and it might be Starr being back and being the one tech and Ed getting the play where he's supposed to play. But I honestly think I don't get the Tremaine hate. Like, I don't get it. First off, the dude's still like 22, maybe 23 now. He's so young, it's silly. Like, he's younger than like Joe Burrow. and Joe Burrow was a rookie last year. But I think he's going to be fine with a healthy Milano and Starback. I don't have any. I think Edmonds is going to go right back to what we were seeing as him being that dude coming up year 1, year 2. I am 100% fine with Tremaine Edmonds and what I expect from him. It's got to be at Oliver. You got to get after the quarterback, whether it's Mahomes or Lamar or whomever it's going to be. Carson Wentz does his thing and the Colts ball out. Whatever it is in the AFC, you got to get after the QB, and you took Ed Oliver 9th overall expecting explosion, and it hasn't happened yet.
So it seems like you maybe have followed Ed Oliver relatively closely. As you mentioned, he was that big recruit in high school. He always seemed to walk around in college or on the field. He always seemed to have this aura of confidence around him, sort of that. But he went to Houston and he was playing in the AAC. Maybe it was that big fish in a small pond type of mentality where he felt very confident and he looked confident on the football field. I haven't seen that sort of brashness from him and his time in Buffalo, that confidence from him and that cockiness from him that you usually see from those kind of guys, that sort of dog mentality. Do you think that, like, when you say he needs to figure it out, maybe it just needs to be getting that confidence back and getting that brashness back?
That could very well be it. I mean, he had his issues with his coach at Houston his last year because he wasn't allowed to wear a warm-up coat on the side of the field because only active players were allowed, and he stormed off the field because he's that dude. You're right. He has always been cocky. He went to Houston because he's from Houston and was like, I'm going to make this program something because I'm that special. And he was. You're right. And he's he hasn't straight said it in the locker room or on Zooms, but he's kind of admitted, like, I gotta find that aura, as you called it, to make me that guy again. And I thought he had I don't remember what game it was, but he had like the 5th fastest sack in all of NFL last year. In like 2 seconds, he had a sack. And that moment, I'm like, oh boy, I thought he had it, and it didn't happen. I thought that was going to be the moment where it popped, and it didn't. But having Star back and having that whole group together, it's there. I truly believe it's there. We just got to see it.
All right, we got Jeff King coming into the super chat. I always appreciate you, Jeff. He says pass blocking crew need to improve in the running game blocking, or I think we got the pass game, need to improve in the running game blocking to have that dual threat. The defense needs to go back to 2019 form, which we just talked about. We think it might be possible, and we are going to go and we are going to win it all. So thank you, Jeff, for that super chat. And that's transitioning right into my next question. Speaking of the 2021 season and the Buffalo Bills being super competitive and really good and having a bunch of really good games on their schedule, what game are you looking forward to most in the 2021 season?
I am going to absolutely cop out on you and pick a couple of them.
Okay. That's all right. We can pick whatever games you want.
I think obviously playing Patrick Mahomes is huge. If I had to pick from the win one, like you tell me right now, I get to pick a W, take that one. So we can stop the nonsense of the beating Patrick Mahomes. You may have noticed what I'm wearing on my head. You may have noticed what my cup says. I don't care if people are mad at me. I lost my pit bull a couple years ago. His name was Brady. I liked the dude since he was a sophomore at Michigan. I want to see them beat Tom Brady. I want to see them punk the champs. So that's another one. But when you asked me this question, when you DM'd me the list of questions, and I started to think about it, I also want to see them go out week 1 against the Steelers, who are a wounded dog right now, and win like something gross. Like 35-13, 37-21. And the rest of Colin Cowherd puts up his stupid herd hierarchy. And he can't help but put the Bills first. Stephen A. Smith can't help but spew Bills Mafia. They're going to win it all. Yay, loud voices. Hey, be loud. And they're like, dude, the Bills, watch out. So I know that's a cop-out. I'm picking 3. But I want to beat Mahomes. Do your thing there. Let's see that NASCAR package. Knock off the king. Brady. It's not even Brady's the king until he's not. The dude's the king. Like, it's over. Like, he's the GOAT. It's gross. It's gross how successful he has been. Go beat him. But I also want to see them week 1 take Pittsburgh and just, go back to Cobra Kai, them jumping, Sensei LaRusso when he was a kid and Cobra Kai beats him. Like, I just want to see that happen.
Oh yeah. I'm actually with you now with that Steelers game too, because in my mind, you mentioned Pittsburgh being that wounded duck or wounded dog or whatever however you phrased it. I apologize, but their offensive line is real bad, like bad. They lost Villanueva. They cut DeCastro. They've drafted a couple of guys, like they drafted Kendrick Green, who I like, but that is very much a shaky offensive line there in Pittsburgh, and a quarterback who can't even stand up straight in Ben Roethlisberger. So to me, you mentioned the NASCAR package as well. If our defensive line can't get it together week one with that home crowd for the first time, 72,000 for the first time, in over a year, I don't know what. So I would really, I want to see that defensive line against Pittsburgh step it up. And like you mentioned, just get off and make a statement in week one. The game I'm going to go with is selfishly, I mean, you can't beat Thanksgiving in New Orleans. Bills Mafia is going to be the talk, of everyone's dinner table. And social media is going to be absolutely wild with what the Buffalo Bills are doing. Biggest drinking night of the year, the night before Thanksgiving. Bills Mafia is going to be down there in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street. And I think Frank Barber, Hannah Bill Lecter on Twitter says, posted his tickets. LSU plays Texas A&M like 2 days later or something like that, I think. So he's going to the Bills game and then he's going to Texas A&M LSU. So it's going to be like a cool weekend down there in the Bayou for sure. But
he can scout Derek Stingley Jr., who the Bills need to trade all their draft picks for to move up as cornerback too.
Yeah, there we go. And Chris Jenke coming in saying Pittsburgh getting ready to sign Russell Bodine. That's how desperate they're getting on their offensive line.
They can get a 6 from the Patriots for him. It's all good.
All right. Before we go, Greg, I got two more questions for you. One I prepared you for, one I have not prepared you for.
That's fine.
So the last prepared question I have for you is, what's your favorite Bills memory of all time? Obviously, you mentioned you're a Raiders fan and you are a Penguins fan, but maybe just covering the team. What has been your favorite Bills related memory?
I'm actually going to go way back on you. So I grew up like poor. I'm talking poor, slept in a station wagon a couple of times, poor. We didn't have a TV at the time. When they were coming up on the first Super Bowl, would have been 91, I think. Whatever it was, I think I was 6. And my mom somehow scraped together a way to get a TV that had video and a TV that had audio. And we stacked them on top of each other in our trailer living room so I could watch the Super Bowl, because I was a diehard nerd even back then. So, and the Bills were playing. So that was, and even being I'm from Girard, just outside of Erie. And the Bills, that's like, it's mostly Steelers fans, but there's still your Browns group and your Bills group. So it's still a big thing. McDonald's had all the Cornelius Bennett and Bruce Smith and Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly, Steve Tasker, all that stuff was still all over the place. But I'm back in that living room, laying on the nasty brown carpeted floor like this, like a little kid, because we had TV for me to watch the Super Bowl. So that's my favorite memory of a Bills game. I know that was way out of where you thought I was going to go. But.
No, that's I did a show a couple of years ago where I brought on a bunch of people and asked them for their favorite Bills memories. So I've heard a lot of different stories, and that one is right up there. That's always awesome. Like when just the football team brings you joy, or the football team can be a distraction. I think, that's what it's all about. Like just the camaraderie of just being a sports fan in general, whether it's the Bills or any other team. All right. My last question for you here. Rico has a segment on his typical show called Say It With Your Chest. And he wants people to give their hottest take. So what is a take that you have, a Bills related hot take that you have that you're willing to get out here and just absolutely say it with your chest with confidence?
Oh boy. I wasn't ready for this one. I don't see why this team shouldn't be playing in the Super Bowl. I don't see why this team shouldn't be playing in the Super Bowl. Is that my best Stephen A. Smith?
There you go.
Honestly,
I don't know. I don't know if we could talk about Stephen A. Smith right now. I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
all the pieces are there. Everything's there. Your quarterback's there. He's still on a rookie deal. So you got the money. You got the stud wide receiver. Hopefully your running backs can step up and do their thing. You have the number 2 wide receiver. You have the defense that has all the pieces to be. I'm not surprised if the defense is top 5. If you have a top 5 defense here and you have a top 5 offense here and we put them together, you should be playing for the championship. So I don't see why. If they don't, they should be upset. That's what I'm saying. If the Bills are not playing for the Super Bowl, they should be upset.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's Super Bowl or bust this year for the Buffalo Bills. All right, I'm gonna ask you because I know Buffalo Bills Reddit on Twitter, which is weird. I'm not a Reddit guy, so I don't understand what Reddit is. I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of like dashes and slashes and.
Is it a message board? But Buffalo Bills Reddit on Twitter. He wants to know about your scotch, and he wants some scotch takes for you. So I'm going to give you the podium to give some scotch takes. And while you do that, if anyone in the comment section has any questions for Greg or any topics they want to throw out there, you're more than welcome to do so. And we can go for a couple of more minutes here. So give us your thoughts on scotch while the comment section has some time to rustle up some talking points here.
The scotch started with the pandemic. I've liked scotch forever, but the pandemic happens and I'm sitting in my kitchen right above us and I have a glass of scotch and I start drinking it. And one of my kids' Hot Wheels is sitting there and I just start playing with it. And I think to myself, I don't care if you're 5, 55 or 105, you can't see a Hot Wheel and not just start playing with it. So I just tweeted that Scotch Thoughts with Greg Vorse. You're not human if you see a Hot Wheel and you don't play with it or something along those terms. And it got a bunch of interaction. And the next couple days later, we're not going to Wegmans. We got like an Instacart so my wife and daughter could bake. They like to bake together and my stomach loves it too. And cinnamon was out. And I started thinking like, who was the first person to just peel some bark off of this tree and grind it up and be like, ooh, this is going to taste good. I'm drinking scotch thought with Greg Vorse. There it is. So that it was just a really random thing and people started to interact with it. And one blew up. My son turned 1 during the pandemic and we had to like teach grandparents how to use Zoom, explain them how to do all that stuff so they could be part of the birthday party because they weren't allowed to be here. And I tweeted that night, like Scotch Thoughts with Greg Vorse, if your birthday fell during the lockdown, you get to have 2 parties. And it blew like somebody way more famous than me retweeted it. And it was one of those ones where it was like, I woke up in the morning and was like 2,400 retweets. What the hell happened? And that it was again, some people way more important than me, retweeted it or liked it or quote tweeted or whatever. So it was just a fun way, and then we got into the riots and the protesting and my niece and nephew are they're black. They're my brother-in-law is black. And I've told a story to people before when I was 16, leaving a basketball game my sophomore year. I was decent at hoops. I was carrying my niece. She was newborn out of the court. And someone said in the crowd, why is Greg with that N-word? And I could cry now. It irked me so bad. So that's always been something. So I tweeted about that. And it's just something that's, Coach Jack has gotten involved and joked with me about it. And it's just something that's been a fun way. Twitter, I could be all numbers and the stats nerd on Twitter, and that would be it. Or I could be the dude that only shares like photos of rainbows and my kids. Scotch Thought was like a fun, life sucks right now. It's March 29th. We're all locked in our house.
No sports.
There's no sports. I'm now being told by my doctor that we think you had COVID in February. So I'm like freaking out. And it was just a way to have people be like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be scared. I'm a dude that's around sports I'm a dude that's around freaking Hulk Hogan's and the Incredible Hulk all the time. It's okay to be scared. You don't have to be eating your Wheaties and drinking your Bush. It's okay. It's all good. And that's my mother-in-law has a plaque I made her. It's all good. It's all good. And that's where Scotch Thoughts came from. It's just a way to, hopefully make somebody smile, hopefully make somebody laugh, maybe make them cry because you need a good cry every once in a while. So that's all it was. And then now it's not as frequent because I'm getting out of the house, so I'm not drinking scotch as much as I was then. But it was just me, one of these, and my thoughts.
We got Harold Fuller coming in saying No rocks on the scotch, right? Are you scotch on the rocks?
There was when I started. I actually, if I want scotch, I know I'm gonna have scotch, I'll tell myself, all right, I want to start drinking the glass at 10. At 9:45, I'll pour it an ice cube and let it melt a little, because that I'm getting nerdy now. But that water lets the aroma and the flavors kind of come out, and it just has a little bit better taste and smell. And I feel like such a dork saying all that.
Dude, no, don't worry about it, because like I when I was in Houston, I was just in Houston, and we went and did an artisanal coffee tasting, where this guy who roasts coffee for a living just broke down like how to properly drink coffee, and the way it like tastes different when you drink it in a coffee mug compared to like a wine glass, and like the proper different ways to like drink a coffee. So like what you just said, there could be a scotch drinker watching this show right now who has been drinking scotch their entire life, and you could have just completely changed the game for them. Like they could be looking at scotch in a completely new way now. So you never know who's listening. So shout out to that random coffee roaster in Houston, because I'll never drink coffee the same way again.
There you go.
We got a couple of people in the comment section here.
Cool. Fire away.
Only in Bill's Mafia do you get special teams nerds on your in your comment section. We got Chris Janke over here. A big topic of our show last night was Saran Neal. And how he has become one of the better gunners in the National Football League, gunners on punts, which is a very underrated part of the game. You look at the Buffalo Bills roster: Tywan Jones, Andre Smith, Tyler Matakevich, Saran Neal, Andre Roberts as a kick and punt returner last year. There were a ton of players on the Buffalo Bills roster whose positions were essentially special teams only. What is your take on like special teams only players? How many of those do you like to keep on a roster? And what are your thoughts on guys like Saran Neal and Tyler Matakevich who don't really contribute on defense?
I won't go as far as Dick Duran used to go and say special teams is 1/3 of the game and is 1/3 as important as offense and defense. But the big thing with special teams, when you step away and think about it, if you're starting at the 18 instead of the 28, that's one first down you've already given away. Think about that. So that's huge. That's huge. That's why when people we're not getting our money out of Roberts. Well, if he does something once a game that the other guy wouldn't have done and gave you 15 yards which is a bonus first down and a half, or Saran Neal makes a nasty tackle that stops, Tyreek Hill from running it back to the house or whatever, that they're so big. It's not box score scouting. It's hard to find box score stats on special teams, but those 1 and 2 plays can change everything, especially if you have a play, Micah Hyde recovering that onside kick and taking it to the house. That play might not have won the game because the game was kind of already over, but it did something to that team. You know what I mean? So it was special.
Yeah.
Pun intended. So I'm how many guys? I don't want to be keeping more than 3 or 4 dudes that can't do more. But when you can get a guy that when you can find your Steve Taskers who can be special on special teams and still help, you got a dude that should be on your 53 and being shown that he's willing to keep a couple guys just for that.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. You mentioned Andre Roberts, flipping the field. I think people don't appreciate the field position that Andre Roberts gave the Buffalo Bills offense a ton last year. I think that had a lot of success. I think early on in the season, a lot of Josh Allen's confidence built up because of the field position he got from the likes of Andre Roberts. But even on the reverse end, like that Denver game, Andre Roberts fumbled. Never seen Andre Roberts fumble. Like that was very peculiar what happened. And momentum is a thing in football. I don't care what anyone says, like momentum is real. It might not like be the biggest factor, but there is a thing, like things do snowball. So when your gunner misses a tackle or your kicker punt returner fumbles the ball and gives the other team the ball back, like that can push momentum to the other team. Or if you make a big tackle or have a big return. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any bigger killer and more frustrating thing. You score some sick touchdown and your kicker kicks it out of bounds. Like everything just dies.
Yeah.
They have great field position now. The crowd just went, ugh. Like the crowd was ready to swarm and hope Ed Oliver pins his ears back like we want him to and get a sack. And it's 2nd and 13 at your own 17. And we're thinking, let's double down. And then it's kicked out of bounds. And they just need 2 first downs and they're in field goal range. Sorry.
No, you're good. We got another question here from Harold Fuller. Any thoughts on who's going to be returning punts and even kicks for the Buffalo Bills this year? This is something that we talk about a lot. I know Joe Marino from Locked On Bills has been a big proponent of why the heck did you not re-sign Andre Roberts?
I agree.
Me and my co-host Dave Tilton have been on this train as well. Like, this is an issue. This is an issue. Plenty of people are talking about it, but they can go from a talking point to full-on Bills Mafia panic with like one fumble in training camp or the preseason. So what are your thoughts on the return specialist situation? Isaiah McKenzie, Brandon Powell, Marquez Stevenson. How do you think it's going to sort of turn out for the Buffalo Bills as we head into the 2021 season without Andre Roberts?
I think today it's Isaiah's job to lose, but his hands and fumbling has shown he can lose it. So I think that's where it sits right now. I would imagine that they're going to put a little bit more time in training camp into doing that. Maybe there's a little more special teams work. If you ever are at a Bills practice, which I know most of you guys unfortunately don't have the opportunity to go to, McDermott likes to kind of sneak off and work with everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sneaking off and doing that a little bit more, going back into the field house where the special teams guys are. We've all seen, the longest yard with my version is with Adam Sandler because we're younger. So we know with him and not Burt Reynolds, and the kicker's off by himself doing nothing. And the water boy kind of has that same thing in it. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of truth to that stereotype that they're in the field house with the rest of the teams outside practicing. But I could see McDermott sneaking off once in a while and having one of those little chats and having some of those private conversations that everyone in media covering the Bills tries to capture because you want to be the one that tweets out, oh, Bean spent extra time with Isaiah McKenzie, he must be the man. But I could see that happening maybe a little more this camp. But right now, I think it's McKenzie's job to lose. And you didn't say his name, and it's not a problem. It's probably rightfully so. I wouldn't mind seeing if Matt Breida can't use that speed and be something back there.
The thing is like, I don't know if he has a history of punt returns, but I can definitely see him being the kick returner.
You can't, I don't care how much weight you lose, you can't teach speed. I'm not a big soccer guy, but if I could run and have my legs be a pendulum like Cristiano Ronaldo, I would take it in a heartbeat. You can't teach that in a body. And that's what some of these dudes have. And we go back to 1, 2, 3, it's free yards. So if Breida can catch the ball and not fumble, or McKenzie can catch the ball and not fumble and use that quick, they're at a full gallop in 2 steps and get you 7 when it should have been 2, take it. Because that's a free Josh Allen scramble for 5 yards that you didn't have to have Josh Allen scramble.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. In the comment section, we got some optimists, Truth to Hearts in here saying everyone's giving Roberts too much credit for the field position. There are 10 other guys blocking for him. It's not a coincidence that McKenzie scored on his first punt return. We got John Herring coming in saying hot take, McKenzie up being a star on special teams. We also have Randy Harbin coming in saying Roberts was an elite kick returner with the Jets. He's a good player. We got
Jeff, a lot of fun on Twitter too, so I'm all about him.
Oh yeah,
star.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. Josh Allen's rookie year was some of my darkest times as a Bills fan. Even going back to like the Greg Williams era, like it was even when Trent Edwards wouldn't throw the ball more than 5 yards. It was still a low point when it was AJ McCarron and Nathan Peterman, and then we got rid of McCarron and it was Nathan Peterman, and oh boy, that blew up in our face, and yeah, now we got to go with Josh. And then it was Andre Holmes, and it was Kelvin Benjamin, and it was, I think, Jeremy Curley, Zay Jones. Like, it was rough.
Andre Holmes is low-key hilarious, though.
Yeah. But it was on the field, it was hilariously bad. Like, it was hard to watch. I remember that Monday Night Football game. I went to a Bills backers bar, and Derek Anderson, and just like the Bills were just pulling out every trick in the book to try to just pick up a first down to stay relevant. And it was just a brutal season, but the season got better when Josh Allen came back from injury and Isaiah McKenzie and Robert Foster were infused into that offense. So I will always give Isaiah McKenzie the benefit of the doubt because he, to me, salvaged that season, that late run where Josh Allen had some of those games against Detroit and Jacksonville and Tennessee. And, you know, some of the things that Isaiah McKenzie and Robert Foster did, he will always hold a special place, you know, in my heart for that. And we're going to end it here with Jeff King, another super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Always appreciate it. Says, folks, always a pleasure to see all of you on here. Have a lot coming up in the next 2 months. Love to you and your families. See you on opening day. Be well and be happy.
Cheers.
So yeah, cheers to that. Here's my wine slushy here. Got the scotch. All right. So Greg, thank you so much. Anything you want to sort of promote before we head out here? Obviously, maybe share your Twitter handle again.
At Greg Vorse, GREGV as in victory, ORSE. It's like horse, but with a V. And just come follow me. Come DMs are always open. I don't care if you're having your happiest day or your darkest moment. I'm there. I'm here to talk and Bills, Sabres, or whatever nonsense comes up. I'm here to have fun with it. That's what Twitter should be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And cheers to you, everybody. Go watch the end of that All-Star game and go Bills.